Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Wrap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs, it's Biz Wrap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Wrap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining me today. We are, of course, the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. Yes, we're here helping you, the entrepreneurs of America, do what we need you to do to help this economy. You know, we have had one of the worst recoveries ever from a recession, and people wonder why. Well, what they don't realize is most new jobs are created. No, now hang on. I know what you're thinking. The government creates all the new jobs. The people in Washington wave their magic wand, and miraculously companies start hiring in those big corporations in Detroit and the fat cats on Wall Street. They're running around hiring people. No, absolutely incorrect. Most of the jobs are created by small business and entrepreneurs. Yes, the small businesses in your community prospering, doing better, and hiring people who live in your community. And, you know, as entrepreneurs, we have an obligation. Our goal is to make money. No, hang on now. Profits are not a dirty word. You need to make a profit. And what do you do with that money? You take the money that you bring into your business, you hire people, you take care of your employees, you take care of your family, and you give back to your community. And that's the way small business has worked in the United States of America for an awfully long time. But small businesses are under fire right now. There's a war on against small businesses. The big corporations don't like the small businesses. The government really doesn't like small businesses. I mean, the government would prefer everybody work for big corporations or work for the government because, us small business people, we get away with too much that the government doesn't like. We don't obey all of those crazy rules and regulations, and it's tough for the government to collect taxes from us and other stuff like that. But we are here to support the small business people of America. So let's move on. We got a great show lined up for you today. And, one of the things we talk about on Biz Wrap Radio is how small businesses have struggled because of the challenge of getting the money you need to run your business. And I know used to be years ago, you'd go to the local banker, and the banker would listen to your story and look at your business plan, and he'd actually give you a loan. But today, if you want a loan from a bank, you pretty much have to be in a position where you really don't need it. That's who the banks are loaning to today, is the people who don't need it. But there are sources of funds out there for small businesses. Yes, believe it or not. And there's many new creative funds coming along. And over the months here, I hope to have some of the people on the show who have some of these great ideas about how you now can fund a business where historically you might not have been able to get the money. At least you're going to be able to do that until the government decides they don't want these people to do that and start shutting them down. But that is a whole other story. Anyways, in studio with me today, I've got Mike Soon. Mike is with Privateloan.us. That's Privateloan.us. And Mike has spent most of his 40-year-plus career in and around the loan business, and particularly financing small businesses and real estate transactions. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm so excited to have you here because one of the things that, I took a hiatus of about 6 months after I got a little sick last year. But I was looking at the comments I was getting from listeners to the show, and one big thing they wanted me to focus on when I went back on the air was, Mike, how do we get money? How do we get capital for our business? And that's the business that you're in. So, Mike, tell me a little bit about Privateloan.us. What do you do and how do you do it?
Thank you. Privateloan.us is the evolution of about 40 years of being in the finance business. And that's financing, as you said, businesses as well as real estate. We have gone through such drama over the last 40 years. I don't know how many cycles we've been through, but we've had all the ups and downs, and we've run into the true difficulty of people getting loans today. And like you said, it's easy to get a loan when you don't need one.
Mm-hmm. How true that is.
Right? When you do need one, it becomes a very difficult task. So what we've done at PrivateLoan.us in just the recent past is we've really taken off on a travel of creating opportunities for business owners and real estate owners to obtain loans that they would never be able to get before. And in saying that, we needed different kinds of investors who have a different mentality.
Mm-hmm. So when you say loans that people couldn't get before, can you give me an example of maybe a loan transaction you've worked on or you've funded, say, in the last 6 months, that particular small business person probably could not have gotten that particular loan, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago?
Okay. There are many examples. There are people who are such extreme community leaders that you would think they could get a loan very easily.
Well, sure, I would think so.
Yeah. Well, that's not quite the case.
Wow.
Whether it's a FICO score, credit that's just kind of falling, maybe some association to a bankruptcy, a short sale, a foreclosure. It could be just about anything. Maybe it's employment that's not quite long enough or hasn't been sustained long enough. But for one reason or another, people cannot get loans on the most part.
So you're able to help them get a loan when maybe a traditional source might not be able to fund that.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I want to talk about something, and I know you're telling your story. I'm sure the audience is interested, but you hit on something that's really a pet peeve of mine. This FICO score, is that not a big scam? Is that not the most ridiculous, foolish thing on the planet? I understand, like, how does it work that somebody declares bankruptcy, they get their house taken away from them, and a couple of years later they're out getting more money, or on the other hand, I'll tell you a personal story. I bought a new house and need to get financing on the house. I must have provided, and by the way, never bankrupt, to my recollection, never missed a payment on anything. I've had car loans, I've had real estate loans, I've had business loans, I've had credit cards with $50,000 limits on it. I had to provide the mortgage company, now listen to this, and this is an absolute fact, 600 pages of documentation to get a $350,000 loan. 600 pages. And this FICO score thing, and it's just all a big racket, isn't it? Or am I wrong?
The FICO score is a racket.
Yeah.
And the problem with the FICO score is that it takes a long time to clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you do clean it up, it can bounce right back with the negativity. So however that's controlled by whomever controls it, it truly is a scam.
Yeah, I remember there was some expose on 60 Minutes, I think, where somebody had gotten something on their credit report, and it took, like, literally getting, and it was an error. The FICO score company, whether it was Experian or whoever there's three of them, right? It was an error. The information was on the person's credit report in error. It took like years and tens of thousands of dollars in attorney fees to get this thing off. How does the government, the government wants to interfere in every friggin' thing that goes on in this country, and something as ridiculous as that whole FICO score system and the abuse that those big corporations play with small businesses in particular and particularly independently employed people. I guess, look, if you work at the post office, you got one credit card, you got one car loan, oh great, you're going to have a FICO score through the roof. But if you're a complex business person that's trying to finance your small business and create jobs and everything else, you can actually have a crappy FICO score even though you've never missed a payment on anything.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the issues is you have a legal right to dispute your derogatories on your credit report.
Okay, well, look at Mike. Let's talk about that in the next segment because time goes quickly when we're having fun.
Okay.
We are at the end of this segment. This is, of course, BizRap Radio. I'm your host, Michael Manahan, and we're going to be back with Mike soon right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. Thanks for sticking with us. It is Mike Manahan, your host. And we are today in studio with Mike Soon. Mike is with PrivateLoan.us, and we've been talking about getting funding for your business or your real estate project, and we were ragging a little bit on the folks that control the FICO scores, and I think the consensus, at least in the studio here, was that whole FICO score thing it's a bit of a scam, and it's certainly prejudiced against small businesses, but that's another story. Mike, again, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so you were talking in the last segment. You were saying that somebody that you would normally think would have an easy time getting a loan, i.e. a community leader of some sort, perhaps a mayor or a councilman or something like that. You've had experience where even people like that typically they would have a relationship with the bank and loans were based on character. But now even those people are having tough time getting loans.
Absolutely having a hard time.
So what do you do about that? How do you help people in that situation?
What we've done is we've developed really a very select group of investors.
Okay, so you actually have people, private individuals, who are going to make these loans?
That's correct.
Wow, that is amazing, and that's legal. It's that can be done.
Absolutely legal.
Well, yeah, you have to check these days because I'll tell you that between the city government, the state government, the county government, and the federal government. I mean, they've made so many things illegal that we used to do all the time. It's just amazing. Either they've made them illegal or you have to go through so many hoops in order to accomplish them that's almost not worth it. So you've got some private investors, and they will look at basically a private loan, if you will. So instead of borrowing money from a billion-dollar corporation like Citibank, you're maybe borrowing from somebody who, I don't know, had an internet business, sold it for $10 million, and now he's got some money to spread around.
That's correct.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, what was your impetus? I mean, how did you think to get into that kind of a business?
Because of the time and all the experience we've had in the loan business, we were right there with all the difficulty as it arose, moment to moment.
Wow.
And so many of the loans that we were working on obviously would not close.
Right.
So it was a matter of necessity to create some avenue by which we could accomplish the goals of our borrowers.
So let me ask you a question. How much of the loan decision is based on analysis as opposed to what I would call filling in the boxes? Because I know nowadays a lot of the loans you get, if you're dealing with major corporations, really it's you fill in the boxes, a computer does, what boxes were filled in and what ones weren't, and then the computer rejects you or accepts you. You may never even have talked to a person.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, but in your particular situation, do you actually do some analysis and you actually look at the person, their character, and what they're trying to accomplish? And does that become part of your loan-making decision?
It's probably 50% or more of the decision-making process.
So you've got some flexibility. So you can... I guess, we've heard the term out of the box, but you can look at which means that it's a situation that doesn't necessarily comply to the written rules and regulations. You can look at something that's a little unique and maybe get somebody some funding who may have been turned down by a more traditional source.
That's true 9 times out of 10.
Okay, so right now, just as you've said that, I'm sure somebody listening says, darn it, I need to get a hold of Mike. Mike, how does somebody get hold of you? Where do they connect with you?
Well, the first thing people can do, and it's the quickest, is to merely email info@privateloan.us, info@privateloan.us, and provide us the scenario that that they're looking for relative to a loan submittal. They can also call me at 949-878-6453.
Okay, so either send an email to Mike at info@privateloan.us or give him a phone call. Mike, your number once again.
949-878-6453.
Okay, now just so Mike doesn't get inundated by, the crackpots of the world, just because Mike's got some unique solutions and some private investors that could potentially fund a loan situation, you still need to have your ducks in a row. Don't call Mike if you don't have all of the things that you're going to need to get a loan. What's the purpose of your loan? What are you trying to do? Why do you need the loan? If it's a business loan, what's your business about? Do you have a balance sheet? Do you have an income statement? It doesn't obfuscate the necessity to have those things you typically get. It just, in Mike's case, he can potentially fund something that a traditional source might turn down. So before you contact Mike, make sure you got your ducks in a row. Make sure you got the documentation and information that obviously an investor is going to be looking for. So now, Mike, can you maybe give me a general idea of what's your sweet spot? What do you do best? What kind of a loan really gets you excited?
Our real niche play, where we're most successful for our client, is if a loan is secured by a piece of real estate.
Gotcha.
And then those monies can be used for whatever purpose they choose.
Uh-huh.
But that's our easiest play for a borrower.
Okay, so let's say I had a home. My home's worth $500,000. I've got a $200,000 mortgage on it, so I've got $300,000 in equity in the home. But I happen to be running a small business, and I want to put $100,000 into my small business because I want to acquire some new manufacturing equipment, or I want to go and develop a new product. You're going to be able to look at a situation like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And with the example you just gave me of $500,000 value, we could probably provide a loan of at least $350,000.
So you, even though he already owes $200,000 on the property?
That's correct.
So you could actually over-collateralize, I guess, is that the term you use? By the way, let's talk about loans for a minute, because I know in the lending world, there's the buzzwords, right? And we in the world of finance, we throw out buzzwords, and of course we just assume everybody knows what these mean. But there are some words that I think our listeners would appreciate understanding better what it means. So I've heard this term for years. It's a hard money loan. What does that mean? It's a hard money loan.
Okay.
I mean, if I pull a dollar bill out of my pocket, if it's a paper, it's a $10 bill, it's soft. It's not hard. What is hard money?
Hard money is truly money that you can obtain in 10 days and sometimes even less.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing you really need is enough equity in your property.
Okay, so a hard money loan needs to be supported by some form of collateral.
That's correct.
Okay, now is it only real estate, or what if I've got accounts receivable? Does that qualify for hard money lending?
Account receivables will work as well.
Okay, inventory?
Inventory, not so much.
Not so much?
Unless we really diminish the cost of goods.
Value. What about equipment?
No.
No, not equipment. Okay, so a hard money, you've got to have some collateral. It's got to be collateral that can fairly easily be valued, and the lender moves quickly. It's not like going to an SBA loan. Like, do you do SBA loans?
Yes, we do.
But they take a long time, right?
Well, the normal period for an SBA truly is 60 to 90 days.
60 now, because then you really have to say 90 days.
Right.
Okay, so if somebody needs money in 2 weeks, an SBA loan's not going to do the trick.
Right.
But a hard money loan could.
Absolutely.
Now, could you do a hard money loan and then refinance it out with an SBA loan in 90 or 120 days?
That's exactly what we do.
Oh, okay, wow.
we try to figure out how we can satisfy a borrower's needs, and then absolutely have a long-term game plan to decrease the cost of money for them.
Okay, so this is really exciting. And it sounds to me like you also work with the borrower. as opposed to I know I talked to somebody just recently, and they said that they needed a business loan, so they went in and they went into their local Chase bank, and they were talking to some. Nothing against young people, but some kid who was about 21 years old. And according to my associate, that kid looked like a deer in the headlights. No friggin' idea about the business he was in or what he needed or even how to make the loan work. So, but you're actually in there and you understand business. I want you to give out your contact information once more, but I'm going to wait till after the break because we've got about 10 seconds left here. It is Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio, and we're going to be back with Mike soon, privateloan.us, right after this. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. Thanks for sticking with us. And if you just joined us today, we are in studio. We are talking with Mike Soon. Mike is with privateloan.us, and he provides basically, I guess, just what it sounds. Again, Mike, before I get into what you do, thanks again for joining us in studio.
Thank you, Michael.
So what you said, privateloan.us is the name of your company, but that's really what you do. You've got private investors who provide private loans for business people.
Absolutely.
Well, and you do both real estate type loans as well as other business loans. And just as we broke for commercials, I said that I wanted you to give out your contact information once again. So give the contact information. Somebody's out there listening. You need money for your business. You're trying to do a real estate transaction. You're trying to get money to finance growth in your company. You should be talking to Mike. Mike, what's your contact information?
You can email information to info@privateloan.us, info@privateloan.us. And my telephone number is 949-878-6453. 949-878-6453.
Back to money. Tell us more about your business and really what you're trying to do for your customers.
We provide all types of loans, the business loans as well as real estate loans. From the real estate side, we have all the conventional loans, the government loans, reverse mortgages, and then where we really spend most of our time, hard money, private loans.
Okay, so you're kind of more like a one-stop shop, if you will, because I know in the lending business, a lot of the financial institutions, they're very much into, they've got one product. Oh, we do a conventional loan. We do a reverse mortgage. We do a business loan. And if you don't, if you don't kind of fit into their set pattern of the type of lending they do, you can't work with them. But you are more looking at what does our customer need, what's the best solution for our customer's needs, and okay, now let's direct that customer into the type of financing that customer needs. And by the way, we have sources for all of these different types of financings.
That's right. And we try to make sure that when we talk with a client, that we're encompassing their entire need for the long term. So we will phase out which kind of loan we'll use and implement those when the time is right.
Okay, so you could bring in, I'm thinking of an example here. I decide I bought a piece of property some years ago, and it's sitting there vacant. I finally decided to build a house on the property, and I'm going to need maybe a construction loan to build the house, but once the house is completed, then I'm going to be looking at a more conventional type of mortgage situation. So you would be able to help with both of those. Absolutely.
And I want to note that most of the audience will not know about about after repair value, ARV.
Oh, I don't even know about that. What does that mean?
What that means is if you have a property and you want to make it better, that you can get a loan to make it better.
Oh, okay.
So what we do is we determine what the value of the property is when the repairs are completed, and we make a loan on the basis of that.
Okay, so I've got a house. It's 1,500 square feet. and I want to say add 500 square feet to make a bigger kitchen or an additional bathroom or something like that, you would basically look at what the value would be after I did my addition.
That's correct.
And then loan based kind of on that value.
Right.
Gotcha. And is that a wise thing to do? I mean, is it a smart thing if somebody's got a house to be trying to enhance the value of the property through doing additions?
I would say you need to look at your marketplace.
Gotcha.
You need to know what's happening on your street.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then if you determine that you can bring your property to a greater value because the market will maintain that value for you,
gotcha,
then it's okay.
Yeah. So you got to be careful. That that's assuming you're planning on, or I guess value is a concern to you. But quite frankly, if you plan on not selling your house, and if you say, you know what, that's the house, I'm going to live here for the next 25 years till the kids put me in the old folks' home. Maybe it doesn't really make much of a difference, because if it's worth it to you to have an extra 400 or 500 square feet on your property for some reason, whatever that might be, then maybe you go ahead and do it anyways, even if from a value perspective, at least from a resale value perspective, it doesn't make that much difference.
Absolutely, and not getting off course here, but if someone wanted to live in their home forever, they decided to improve it to the point that they were fully satisfied from a day-to-day living perspective, they could follow up that ARV loan with a reverse mortgage and never make a payment again for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, well, so let's explain that, because you've seen commercials, we've heard commercials on the radio, on the TV, about a reverse mortgage, but I'll bet there's a lot of people out there who really don't understand exactly what a reverse mortgage is. So, Mike, give it to us. What is a reverse mortgage?
Okay. Long ago, a reverse mortgage was a bad word.
Okay.
Today, it's a great word.
Okay.
Because when you obtain a reverse mortgage, you and your spouse, for as old as you get and your wife gets, you never make a payment for the rest of your life. After both parties decease, then the family has 1 year to determine whether they want to keep the property, whether they want to sell the property, whether they want to give it back to the bank. But meanwhile, during the interim of that loan, you can make payments on that loan if you choose.
Well, now I heard that situations where the reverse mortgage kind of funded out, if you will, and then the people live longer than expected, and here you've got two 90-year-olds and they don't have a house to live in.
Well said, Michael. Thank you for saying that. The actuarial tables, they moved way out. So that's not going to happen.
Okay, so that doesn't happen anymore.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can always retire your reverse mortgage, by prepaying, by paying off, and there's no prepayment penalty.
Okay.
So if you have relatives that are saying, if you use this reverse mortgage, you're going to use up all the equity, then I'll get nothing. Well, you have all the option of any other type of loan with a reverse mortgage.
Well, I think there's something out there. I mean, there's two philosophies. One is that, a lot of parents don't want to use up all their equity because, quite frankly, they want to die and leave something to their kids. And then there's the kids who don't want mom and dad to use up all the equity because they want to get something from their parents. But realistically, I think, it's. I think you want to spend your money while you're still alive. I mean, just my viewpoint on it. I want to spend the money while I'm still alive. I mean, my kids can take care of themselves. I don't mind giving them a few shekels here, but my goal is not to make my kids rich so they don't have to work. I worked my ass off all of my friggin' life. I'm still working my ass off. And, quite frankly, I want to spend the money as I get older before I'm in a situation where I can't spend it anymore, which happens. You get older, and all of a sudden you can't do things. I heard the other day, I never realized this. Do you know there's an age limit on cruise ships? If you're too old, you can't go on a cruise. Well, what fun is that? Anyway, again, I am here in studio with Mike Soon. He is privateloan.us. That's his company. And once again, before we go to commercial break, Mike, how does somebody get a hold of you?
It's best to email at info@privateloan.us.
Okay.
Email at info@privateloan.us.
Okay, and your phone number?
949-878-6453.
Okay, that's fabulous stuff. Look, there are other alternatives if you went down to Chase Bank and Chase said to you, no, I'm sorry, we can't loan you any money. Give Mike a call. Maybe he can put something together for you. And I want to talk more about Chase Bank when we come back. But this is BizRap Radio. I'm your host, Mike Manahan. We'll be back right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio for our final segment on today's show. I am, of course, your host, Michael Manahan, and BizRap Radio is the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. And we're in studio right now with Michael Soon. Michael is the owner of PrivateLoan.us. We've been talking about how small business people and real estate investors can get the money they need to expand their business and invest in real estate. And again, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Mike.
Michael, okay, in our final segment here, what else can you tell us about the world of private lending that would be of interest to our listeners?
Private lenders or private borrowers are up against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
When you talked about Chase Bank or any other institutional bank, as you said, most of the people they talk with are not trained.
Mm-hmm.
They're trained by manuals.
Right.
And unless they have white hair, chances are they really don't know what they're talking about. So you make a submittal to them, and you probably will be declined.
Right.
In our situation, we probably receive out of 10 borrowers that go to Chase,
Mm-hmm.
At least 7 to 8 will be declined.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come to us, and we'll still fund 50% of those that come to us.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're able to do the deals the conventional banks can't do. By the way, I just want to mention one thing about Chase Bank. You know, I understand the role that large financial institutions play in our economy. We do need a Citibank, a Bank of America, a Chase Bank. We should have far more small financial institutions, but that's a topic for another day. But if you're a small business person out there, I caution you to be very careful about banking with Chase Bank. All you need to do is Google Chase Bank closing accounts. There is a stream of a litany of small businesses where Chase Bank has arbitrarily just shut down their bank accounts without giving them any reason. Just shut down their bank accounts, cut off their credit cards, basically said, you've got 30 days, your accounts are canceled, all your credit cards are canceled, we don't want you as a customer. But by the way, we're not going to tell you why we don't want you as a customer. It's some big, deep, dark secret, and they try to imply it's because you as a business person are perhaps of some immoral or unethical character, but they don't accuse you of anything specific, and they provide absolutely no evidence. They just say, hit the road, Jack. And I tried to Google the same thing about some other banks, like I did Wells Fargo. I did U.S. Bank. I could not find a similar string of reports like I found about Chase Bank. Now, that's not to say the other banks aren't engaged in these same activities, but definitely when I Googled that, because somebody told me a story. Apparently this woman, she had, when she was like 18 years old, did a porn movie. And she's now like 40 years old, her and her husband running a nice, successful business, and all of a sudden their credit cards, her and her husband, bank accounts, everything all shut down by Chase, and she dug into it. I think she'd get lawyers involved and all the rest of the stuff, and as it turned out, Chase had discovered that 22 years earlier she had done a porn movie. Oh my God! Oh, she's such an evil person doing a porn movie 22 years ago. You got to be very careful, my friends. Mike, have you heard about this Chase shutting down banks? Have you ever run shutting down bank accounts?
I have, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm not making this up, right?
No.
Okay. And did you know of anybody who's had their accounts shut down?
We have.
Okay, so you've actually experienced this.
Absolutely.
Okay. What do you think about that?
What do I think about it? I think it's the character and values that people have that count.
Mm-hmm.
whether they are in the porn movie 22 years ago is probably not consequential.
Yeah. It's just outrageous, and to think, and then I read something else. Now, okay, now I'm really talking off the cuff, because if you asked me to produce this, I'm not sure that I could. But then I read somewhere that Chase Bank blamed it all on the federal government. They were doing nothing more than complying with the banking rules. Well, I'd like to see the banking rule that says, okay, the official manual of how you operate a financial institution in the United States of America, and they're on page 97 in paragraph 36A-2. It says, if you have a customer who was in the porn business 22 years ago, you need to shut down their accounts. I would really like to see that. For some reason, I'm just a little bit skeptical that is absolutely correct. But, I don't know. But look, don't take my word for it. Google it. Go on Chase Bank closing accounts. And if you are a customer of Chase Bank, I would caution you to be very, very careful that you're not setting yourself up for a situation that you may have your bank shut down. Because, boy, I'll tell you, if you're a small business person and you lose your bank account and your credit cards, that could literally put you out of business. Yeah, do you agree with me, Mike?
I agree with you.
Okay,
wholeheartedly.
That's great. Okay, Mike. So just once again, we had a couple minutes left, and then we got that's it for the show for today. Give a recap. What do you do? Who are your customers? How can you help people?
All right. Privateloan.us is a company that truly, truly, truly pays attention to investors or lenders, borrowers who need loans who have been declined elsewhere. We've created a great set of private investors via Privateloan.us, and we look at your loans. We look at what your loan needs are. We look at you, and we really assess whether you're a great credit risk or not. But we do that face to face.
Okay, so that's great. Privateloan.us. Check them out. Go to their website. Give them a phone call. If you need their contact information, go to our website. It'll be on our website. Mike, I really, really want to thank you for coming into the studio today.
Thank you, Mike. It's been a lot of fun.
Okay, so we are going to wrap up the show. You've heard me say this before, but I sign off every show saying the same thing, and the more I say it, the more I believe in it. But, here at BizRap Radio, we believe we can fix the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulation and a planned economy. BizRap Radio, fixing America through individual economic freedom. That's it for this week. We'll be back again next week with another edition of BizRap Radio.